Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How is everyone going? Right, we just over an hour ago had a stream from FFG showing off some of the new ships from Wave 6, releasing sometime early next year, hopefully January, so it's good to get some information on those finally. We should be getting articles really soon. But for the time being, let's take a look at some of the new stuff that was revealed on these ships, on the Fireball and Major Von Reg's tie. Also, we had some of these new pilots revealed, which are going to be in the separate card pack, which is quite interesting. Basically, what the guys on stream did, they did a game of First Order versus Resistance, and they used all new pilots either from the Fireball, Von Reg's tie, or the Aces pack. So if you want to see that, click the little annotation up here so you can actually see some of these things in action. But for the time being, let's actually just discuss how these are going to impact the game. And actually, before we dive into anything else, let's talk about this little card here, the Sfoils for the B-Wing. FFG actually finished with this on their stream, so I'll just be a bit contrarian and put it up first in this video. It wasn't used in the game they played, but it is probably going to be one of, if not the most impactful cards on the game, in my opinion anyway, because this is just a straight up buff to the B-Wings. A lot of the S-Foil cards in the past actually have downsides, like the S-Foils on X-Wings actually remove red dice when they are closed. In the case of the T-70 X-Wings, you remove a red dice if it's not in the bullseye firing arc, but it is still tangible downside. On both sides of the S-Foils for the B-Wings, there is no downside. When they're closed, you still get a barrel roll to red evade action and a red reload action. The text just says before you activate, if you're not critically damaged, you may flip this card. So it's just something optional. It doesn't take anything away from what you already have. While they're open, you also get a barrel roll to red target lock. After you perform an attack, you may spend your lock on the defender to perform a bonus cannon attack against that ship using a cannon upgrade you have not attacked with this turn. Before you activate, if you're not critically damaged, you may flip this card, just like it says on the back end, which is really good. Remember, the B-Wings do have 2 cannon slots, so they can attack with 2 separate cannons. I actually had the comment, I was just chatting with this with my patrons, Captain Bojangles pointed out you can do tractor beam, auto blaster. As a 1-2 punch, you can tractor beam someone into range 1 and then fire an auto blaster at them, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. And that combination only costs 4 points, so it's not like you're just dumping all these points into 2 cannons you're barely going to use. That also works with just like tractor beam, primary. I suppose you could go primary auto blaster if you just want to sink a lot of hits. It's not like that creates a scenario where you either do the combo or nothing. It's got a lot of redundancy built into that kind of effect as well. But of course, you can also just have a regular cannon and fire the primary cannon. If you want to save points, you could even do like heavy laser cannon. It's kind of annoying. I suppose you could do tractor beam heavy laser cannon if you want to try and get fools into your bullseye firing arc and do that kind of thing. Or, just auto blaster heavy laser cannon to have a 1-2 punch with 2 weapons. Just bear in mind, you can't do like tractor beam or jamming beam because it wouldn't happen in the right order. You'd have to do your primary, then tractor beam, which isn't the best way to capitalize. I suppose if you've got other B-Wings that's not unhandy, or I guess other ships in general, you could do a primary tractor and then your other ships could sink more damage on that target, but it's not a very efficient way of using those cards. Lots of really cool options. And yes, as I said, there is no downside on either of these sides, so I don't think this is going to be a free upgrade. The B-Wings are not totally irrelevant when it comes to meta play, so I think this is just going to be another option, specifically when we're looking at cards like Braylon Stram or 10 Num. 10 Num can spend a stress on both those separate attacks, so if you can double stress 10 Num, there are ways to do that. Yeah, you can have a bit of fun with that. Also with Braylon Stram, you get an attack modifier where you can reroll attack dice. That also works across 2 separate attacks. You actually get sort of exponential value out of these S-Foils the more you spend on your pilot as well. So I'm going to be serious. I would not be surprised if these pushed the B-Wings to top tier play. This looks just that powerful. As I said, I don't think it's going to be cheap. It may affect the cost of the B-Wings overall come the next points change. We know these are going to release at roughly the same time as a points change, so if FFG sort of undercost this, we might have like a 6-month gap where B-Wings are just totally busted. Hopefully not, but it is just something to think about. Yeah, seriously powerful card. Cannot wait to see what this does on the table. Alright, let's jump over to some content from these new ships. We have a pilot from each of the new ships releasing in Wave 6. First, on the Fireball, Kazuda Ziona. I didn't know that's how you spelled Ziona. Excellent, good to know. Initiative 4. While you defend and perform a primary attack, if the enemy ship initiative is higher than the number of damage cards you have, you may roll one additional die. It's kind of a mind warp thinking about it, but I suppose in most situations you're probably going to be able to activate this ability, meaning he effectively, for a large chunk of the game, is going to have 3 red and green dice. At least before modifiers anyway, which is pretty decent. Remember, the Fireball does start with a face-up damage card. These are all things to think about. The card we're going to look at in a second might help with that. You just got to be aware of that. This does mean that Kaz ultimately sucks against swarms, but I mean, there's not too many swarms going around these days, apart from vulture swarms. That's going to hurt a bit. Might be a sort of a meta call on whether this pilot's going to be that viable. But hey, look, it's a really powerful effect when it does work, so I'll give him that. Also, on Major Von Reg's tie, we have Hollow at Initiative 5. At the start of the engagement phase, you must transfer one of your tokens to another friendly ship at range 0 to 2. Which is a very powerful effect, and indeed, as we're going to see in one of these next pilots, this is something that the First Order is sort of adopting as part of their faction identity, having those effects where you must transfer stuff, and basically you as the player are trying to manufacture a situation where this is upside, not downside. Bear in mind, if Hollow only has a tractor token or a stress token, and you have another friendly ship, you have to put that token across to the other friendly ship. In the case of it being a tractor token, you can move your friendly ship, so that might be upside, sort of. You're still taking it off Hollow, so it always is arguably tangible upside, but be careful. Just bear in mind, you basically need to try and manufacture situations where you want this token to go to the other ship, whether that's a good or a bad token. If there are no friendly ships at range 0 to 2, if you're flying this as a free agent, I suppose that gives it upside. But if you're doing that, you're getting no value out of the pilot ability, so these are all things to consider. It's going to be a pilot ability that's going to get better and better the better you are as a pilot, especially with the baked-in ability Fine-Tune Thrusters. After you fully execute a maneuver, if you are not depleted or strained, you may gain 1 deplete or strain token to perform a target lock or barrel roll action. You got a bit of maneuverability if you want to get in or out of range of one of your friendlies to help this ability along. That's something you can do as well. Just jumping back on the conversation of the Fireball, we also had R1J5, aka Bucket Spoiled. Comes with 3 charges. While you have 2 or fewer stress tokens, you can perform actions on damage cards even while stressed. Basically all of those say, flip this card face down or repair this card. After you repair a damage card with the ship trait, you may spend 1 charge to repair that card again. Basically, for you newer players, when you repair a face-up damage card, it just means flip it face down. When you repair a face-down damage card, you discard it entirely. So if you have a card like, say, Wounded Pilot, and you flip it face down by using the action on the card, you can then spend a charge on Bucket to just remove the card entirely, which actually physically gets rid of the damage and takes your ship 1 further hit point away from being destroyed. This is quite powerful and very relevant on the Fireball, obviously. This is entirely what Bucket's designed to do. In terms of what he does on other ships, I suppose it's not a bad effect to have like on X-Wings, but yeah, I don't know, those ships like wanting to actively have insurance for face-up damage card doesn't really feel like an effect that those ships want. I might be wrong, maybe we just want like the tankiest Poe Dameron in the world, but even so, I think Poe's got better options than this. This will be good on the Fireball, it's what it's designed to do. And yes, obviously on Kaz, this is going to be fantastic because Kaz actively wants to lower the amount of damage cards he has. So yeah, seems decent. I don't know what kind of costing they'll give this. I think because it does combo so well with Kaz, I don't think it's going to be cheap. Repairing and negating damage overall is a very, very powerful effect in this game. So I'm expecting like at least 5 or 6 points on this one. I don't think it's going to be like basically included on the Fireball. Okay, let's have a look at some of these new pilots that were revealed. Let's take a look at the First Order, because we had these 3 pilots being flown in this stream. Rush, Captain Phasma, and TN3465. First of all, Rush. This one's very, very interesting, and again, it really plays into what the First Order is doing. Initiative 2 on the Tire Silencer. While you are damaged, treat your initiative as 6, so you're gaining tangible upside from being damaged. This is like the exact opposite of Null. Justin, if you're watching, I think this is going to be a fun one to try out, mate. Especially if Rush is a really nice discount on the other Tire Silencer pilots. Especially if Rush has a talent. I mean, Fanatical, this just seems like such a solid upgrade on this. You can fly this ultra aggressively, and in the instance that your opponent does decide to target it, well, guess what? You basically have an Initiative 6 Silencer then, which is great. There actually is no Initiative 6 Silencers, so this is a big deal. Now, bear in mind, your opponent has agency to outfly this. They can simply target your other ships, so I imagine this is the kind of thing that you want to fly really aggressively. You basically want to give your opponent no incentive not to shoot it, or basically really punish your opponents for ignoring it. That's why I like putting on things like Fanatical. Maybe even consider like torpedoes and missiles if it's cheap enough. I really like the design of this. This is really exciting. It's one of the few pilots at Initiative 2 with a unique pilot ability that I actually think, hey, this could be something actually worth looking at. We've seen the kind of things Null can do. Null is kind of the opposite, where you get the higher initiative when Null is not damaged. But that's a TIE-FO. This is a Silencer. So, yeah, watch out for this one. And as I was talking about before with Hollow, we also have Captain Phasma. You can shirk off damage to your nearby ships, and indeed you must do so. Initiative 4. After you defend, after the neutralize results step, another friendly ship at range 0 to 1 must suffer 1 damage or critical damage to cancel 1 matching result. Again, if you have ships nearby, guess what? They've got to help Captain Phasma, which makes a lot of sense. To me, that means you really want Captain Phasma to be a high priority target. You could like put torpedoes and missiles on it to try and force your opponent to shoot Phasma. Even adding on Fanatical doesn't feel too bad, because it gives you a bit of redundancy once you don't have the ability to use that pilot ability anymore. If you either eviscerate the nearby ships or you don't have nearby ships, hey, there's still tangible upside for having Captain Phasma get shot. I don't hate that. That seems like a pretty fun ability. And again, it really plays into what this First Order strategy is trying to do. I like that FFG are putting this design squarely on the First Order. It's a real nice bit of faction identity. Basically, you are more rewarded the better you fly with these. It gives you a bit of risk and reward going on here. It means the better pilots are more rewarded for the better they fly their ships. I like all this a lot. This is really, really cool. Again, it's a lower initiative, but it's a really solid design. Like, even though we have an Initiative 6 pilot on the TIE SF, I think Captain Phasma is pretty legit. Moving right along, we have Captain Phasma's Prey, TN3465. For those of you who don't know, this pilot actually has a bit of history with Captain Phasma. If you want to look up the wiki, it's a lot of very interesting lore. Initiative 2, while another friendly ship performs an attack, if you're at range 0 to 1 of the defender, you may suffer 1 critical damage to change one of the attacker's results to a critical. Okay, so it's not a must this time, but it's not dealing with friendly ships. You have less agency to sort of play around with this, so it probably makes more sense in this regard. But this little guy is cannon fodder, and at a pretty good cost though. This could be putting critical hits onto an ace. Also, if TN3465 has not taken any damage in that game, you can just get rid of a shield to sink a face-up damage card onto a high-priority target. Yeah, nice. I mean, maybe that's Magical Christmas Land going on there. Seems pretty solid, though. I like that a lot. It's going to be another one of those nice, cheap FOs that you stick onto a list. Is it better than Null? I probably prefer Null over this, but it might be cheaper than Null. That's That's all I'm going to say on that. Let's jump over to some of these resistance pilots. First of all, in the bomber, we have Page Tico. Initiative 5, great. After you drop a device, you may spend a charge to drop an additional device. Whoa! And we have a recurring charge. Right, Page, just give her heaps and heaps of bombs. Pretty flavorful, makes a lot of sense, can't complain. That is a really, really powerful effect. It doesn't specify bombs or mines, so you can drop a bomb and a mine. Yeah, enough said. That's going to be really, really dope. If it's cheap enough, we haven't seen much play out of the Resistance Bomber yet, so it's going to have to be competitively costed, I dare say. Next up, we have yet another Initiative 5 RZ2 A-Wing with ZZ Tlo. Tlo? I think it's how you pronounce it. After you defend or perform an attack, you may spend 1 charge to gain 1 focus or evade token. That's really good. I like that a lot. It's a good answer to lower initiative ships. It basically will always be relevant unless your opponent is literally running only initiative 6s. There's not really a list that does that right now. I think FFG have done a great job of prioritizing pilot abilities, so we do actively want to take initiative 4s and 5s, especially with the last couple of waves, which makes this kind of ability really relevant. I mean, especially against a ship like General Grievous or other Initiative 4s, it means you're going to be able to defend yourself against those. And that just seems really, really solid. Now, against the other Initiative 5s like Taliesin Lintra, Lula Lampor, all those pilots, where do I feel that sits in regard to all of that? I don't know. It's very different to those abilities, so I don't hate it. Yeah, maybe there'll be a list with all 3 of these Initiative 5 A-Wings. Could be pretty solid. They all feel very different though. I actually don't mind that idea because we have a ship that is actively good against the lower initiative ships, unlike those 2 other pilots. I mean, I guess Taliesin... Yeah, it's really hard to quantify these 3 ships together. I think that's going to make a very interesting list. Also, on Initiative 2, we have Ronef Bolario. Fun names, these ones. While you defend and perform an attack, if the enemy ship is in another friendly ship's mobile arc, so probably another A-Wing, you may spend 1 focus token from that friendly ship to change one of your results, as in one of your focus results, to an evade or hit. So you're not getting the full effect of that focus token, you're only changing 1 result as opposed to all of the results, but it's a little bit of upside, but it's initiative 2. I mean, if it was a higher initiative, this would be great. But ultimately, you're spending a token to lower its overall effect for 1 result on a fairly innocuous ship on your squad. I mean, it's upside, yeah, if you weren't going to spend that focus token anyway. Cool, but I don't love this. This just seems alright. Some decent filler, maybe. The Resistance really need a little filler ship. I mean, I suppose there's a universe where maybe you have all 3 Initiative 5s and this as your 4th ship, if that balances out. It could be cool. I'm a bit underwhelmed by this one, to be honest. Look, all the other pilots I'm pretty interested in. This one just feels like, Initiative 4, maybe? I don't know. It's just one of those things where, yeah, like if the amount of filler option it gives is enough to just sort of fill out a list with some really good X-Wings and A-Wings, yeah, this seems pretty cool, but ultimately, yeah, whatever. Seems alright. In any case, that's all the new information we have from these. Yes, we also got an article on that obstacle pack. I'll include that link down in the description. I don't have time to talk about that right now. Not too many new reveals. Basically, that's focusing on like new scenarios and that kind of stuff. If you want to have a look at that article, click the link down in the description. We also had that stream. I'll have that link down in the description as well, so you can actually see some of this new stuff in action. In the meantime, hopefully we'll be getting new articles on the Fireball and Major Von Reg's tie. I will cover those when I'm able. I'm sorry, my schedule is just really slammed over the Christmas period. I can't really help that. I'm very, very sorry. I will do my best in the meantime. But for now, do not forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Reddit as well. I've also got a Patreon for the channel with the new copper laws coming into YouTube. I'm basically at a stage where I might just be wholesale demonetizing my channel, not getting ad revenue anymore. And that means the Patreon is extra important. Look, even if you can just spare $1 a month, it is huge. I'm not asking anyone to sort of go and pay beyond their means. That's not something I want people to do. Just anything we can do to support the channel is just really awesome, and I appreciate every single one of you who have already done so. It seriously means a lot. In the meantime, I will catch you all in the next video.